everybody, and thank you for coming to the session. So today we're going to be talking about how you can use simulations to test your game balance with our new solution called Unity Simulation for Games. So what's a simulation? A simulation is a model that mimics real-world scenarios. Why do we simulate games? We simulate games to help test game balance. Testing is necessary to make sure there's no flaws in our game design before launch. And our game balance is necessary to make sure players are appropriately challenged. In other words, we want to manage the frustration of our players, and simulations are a great way to make sure our settings are conducive to doing so. Game balancing is really hard today. It's hard because games are complex and unique. It's hard because playtesting is expensive. Playtesters are expensive. They typically cost around $20 an hour. And even more, the cost of your game designers, developers, and all the time that goes into setting up a playtest is time that you're not spending innovating on what makes your game unique. Lastly, testing is subjective. When you have playtesters play your game to perhaps test the difficulty, it's not clear whether you're testing the playtesters or testing your game. There's a couple current solutions, and they're all flawed for a few reasons. One solution is the soft launch. One way to test your game balance is to start by launching your game in a small market and iterate on your balance and measure the results and keep iterating until you find a combination that works. However, this is risky. It can damage the perception of your game if you launch it without good settings and players give you poor reviews. And it requires planning for separate releases. Another solution I previously mentioned is human testing. This doesn't scale, and again, it's expensive. And another solution is automated scripts, which are great, but automated scripts are typically limited to UI and QA testing and are difficult to extend to actual game playthrough. So let's talk about Unity Simulation for Games. Unity Simulation for Games is a cloud-based service that helps you test your game balance at scale. We hope to replace spreadsheet testing. We will run thousands of permutations of different game balance settings and help you understand the results. And we'll help you make data-driven decisions faster. Unity Simulation for Games is a tool that helps you spend less time testing and balancing and more time innovating. We worked with a Canadian studio called Illogica when we were building out this tool. Illogica has about 40 employees. They've built some pretty major titles. They've worked on Cuphead before, and they're currently working on a title called Rogue Racers. Rogue Racers, think Mario Kart meets Temple Run. It's an infinite runner shown here, soon to be released. Rogue Racers has a game balancing problem. Illogica wanted to make sure that skilled players and unskilled players finished relatively closely together. It's not a fun experience when you play a racing game with your friend or with the computer and one player finishes far ahead of the other player. Illogica also wanted to make sure that the different power-ups and cards they allowed players to use, that no combinations were overpowered, which could also result in very different finishing times between players. Let's go into more detail on the first problem. So this is a problem that's often called rubber banding in racing games. It's called rubber banding because the player behind often gets a rubber banding effect where they get sped up proportional to how far away they are from the front runner. The game designer's intention at Illogica was to make sure that unskilled players and skilled players finish no more than 5 seconds apart. The solution we came up with Illogica was to use Unity Simulation for Games to try out many different permutations of the parameters that impact rubber banding and find out which ones resulted in the desired difference in finishing times. So here's what this looked like. So we did something called a grid search. A grid search is a type of parameter search where, as the name implies, we go through different combinations of parameters and see what happens. So specifically in this case, there were 3 different parameters that impacted rubber banding. There was the duration of the rubber banding effect. There was the speed of the rubber banding effect. So like, how strongly does it impact racing speed? And then there's the refill rate, which is how quickly after you've used an effect do you get another one. So we tested a couple hundred different combinations of those parameters. And for each combination, we ran hundreds of simulations and then measured the difference in finishing times. So to reiterate, we tested 3 parameters, 150 combinations of them, cumulatively 25,000 times, and this resulted in over 1,000 hours of real-world playtime. So the result we found was, 1, we confirmed Illogica's intuition that their current parameters were resulting in finish times that were far too far apart. Like I said before, they were hoping for a 5-second difference in finishing times. They had something closer to 20 seconds. And across all the different settings we tried, we found one combination of parameters that did result in about a 5-second difference in finishing times. And we reported that back to them, and they went with that. So that's an example of how you can use Unity simulation for games to help discover how to balance your game. Another way we like to frame that is, what numbers should you use in your game? If you're interested in this, come find Jeff or I outside, and feel free to email us at playtesting@unity3d.com or email me directly at dylanscandinaro@unity3d.com. Thank you.